For 16 years, South Africa's competition authorities, the Competition Commission and the Competition Tribunal, have together played an active role in meaningful economic development and in meeting the objectives of the National Development Plan. Sadly, South Africa is plagued by social ills, including inequality and unemployment. Many South Africans were disadvantaged under apartheid, with economic power concentrated in the hands of a few.
The competition authorities were established as part of a package of reforms to transform the South African economy.
So in the early days, for example, the corporate leniency policy was already drafted and contemplated. After having learned the lessons, hard lessons of the first 5 years, the policy was refined and brought enormous successes.
Even the most successful initiatives have to start somewhere. Soon after its inception, the Commission discovered that cement giants PPC, Lafarge, Afrisam and NPC Simpor were involved in a cartel, having joined forces to fix prices and allocate market shares and territories.
The Competition Commission has raided the offices of 4 of the major cement producers. The Commission says despite fluctuations in demand and input costs, producer prices of cement have been increasing every 6 months at levels far above the producer price index. If the firms are found to have operated anti-competitively, they will be prosecuted. The companies are also being investigated by competition authorities in other countries.
Our study shows that consumers, as a result of the dismantling of that cartel, we've saved them about 6 billion rands.
The next step saw the Commission resolve a notable case, that of Hazeltow and others against GlaxoSmithKline South Africa and Boehringer Ingelheim. One of many South Africans battling HIV, Hazel and others became victims of not only the virus, but also the expensive prices of its treatment.
That's a good story to tell. I feel very great and honored, and to be given the chance to lead such a very big challenge of people who wanted treatment. And it was not them alone, it was me as well who wanted that treatment. And for me, it makes me feel good when I see people accessing treatment.
The impact is real. I mean, the impact is really about lives. I'm very, very proud to see the prices of antiviral drugs falling from the levels at which they were.
The competition authorities' involvement resulted in a significant drop in ARV prices and an increase in access to this vital drug. Hazeltow is alive and well today, together with many HIV-positive South Africans who live healthier, longer lives. The authorities entered another chapter targeting priority sectors, where the application of competition policy would have its biggest impact. No case is too big or small, from construction to banking to bread, a staple in the lives of every South African.
Details have emerged of clandestine meetings and profiteering plots that led to consumers being ripped off for their daily bread. The Competition Tribunal began hearing evidence today in the bread price-fixing scandal. 3 major manufacturers have confessed to their role and paid fines.
A Pioneer Foods manager felt the full force of cross-examination. In a blistering legal attack, Competition Commission advocate David Unterhalter characterised Pioneer's behaviour as reprehensible and irresponsible.
I did not know of it at the time, and I did not condone any such meetings.
So tell me, what sort of responsibility have you assumed? In some parts of the world, people in your position go to prison for this sort of conduct.
The bread cartel case illustrates how corporate greed harms even the poorest of the poor. Fortunately, the authorities ended it, showing that rivals should never break bread together. The authorities found themselves in the limelight again following the high-profile Massmart-Walmart merger.
David versus Goliath. One of the world's biggest retailers is planning to acquire 51% of South Africa's Massmart, a deal worth about 17 billion rand. It means the American retail giant often accused of undercutting prices, will have a majority stake in stores such as Macro, Game and Builders Warehouse. The Competition Commission has approved the acquisition and the matter is now before the Competition Tribunal. However, the anti-Walmart coalition, made up of various unions as well as COSATU, says it will be the end of workers' rights.
We are very concerned that it will be against the growth path that South Africa is embarking upon.
I think the Walmart case was probably one of the most high-profile cases that we've got. The CAC actually made two decisions in that case. In the first case, I think the important difference between its decision and the tribunal's decision was it reinstated workers who'd been retrenched prior to the takeover taking place, but at a time when the takeover was being contemplated. What the court, I think, recognised in the second time round is that competition agencies can be limited in terms of what they can do with the public interest, and that Competition Act is an instrument, but it's not the perfect instrument to decide these things. So I think that was an important take-home message from that second decision.
This highlighted the importance of public interest issues in the South African context, and was approved with conditions that preserved employment and allowed for the development of local small businesses.
This is a cucumber hydroponic farm. We produce a lot of cucumbers in the rural areas of Winterveld. Through the Supply Development Fund, they have funded us with quite an infrastructure that has made us really efficient in how we do business. Before the funding, we were 19 employees on the farm. Today we are 30, so 11 jobs were created through the Supply Development Fund. Business-wise, yes, we've grown the business. Our production has somewhat grown by 40%. So that's given us really a competitive space to compete on the market because we've got volumes.
So the Massmart benefits have been quite immense, and one good example is we've often found ourselves exploring markets that we didn't know existed previously. So there has been a benefit from the point of view of opening new markets to Massmart. A further benefit has been that we've been able to reduce prices of products in our stores, particularly where we're looking at import substitution opportunities. And a third benefit is that we've been able to diversify the supply chain. So we're now no longer reliant on a small selection of suppliers in many areas because we've been able to broaden the supply base.
Several years after the bread cartel, the authorities put construction giants in the hot seat.
Graft body Corruption Watch says big business should be held accountable for helping corruption to thrive in South Africa. The Competition Tribunal this week discussed the settlement agreements of 15 companies who've been fined nearly R1.5 billion for bid rigging and collusive tendering. These include large infrastructure projects for the 2010 World Cup.
Apologetic, unrepentant, or passing the buck. This was the mixed bag offered by colluding construction companies fingered at the Competition Tribunal this week. Some invoked the words of Nelson Mandela in calling for forgiveness and leniency.
I was the lead investigator. People in the construction sector, they know each other for a very long time. They've been working together for a very long time. So for them to collude, it was not difficult. But now we are hoping that with the construction fast track, we have been able to penetrate them and created a lot of distrust among them. If they are caught colluding again, we are likely to catch them, and if we catch them, the consequences are going to be very serious.
With this, yet another cartel was successfully dismantled. Having learned from challenges, evolved and matured, the competition authorities have now entered a new chapter. Under the leadership of Commissioner Inkosi and Tribunal Chairperson Norman Manoy, they seek to extend their reach to continue to create a more inclusive economy for all. The Commission has undertaken wide-ranging inquiries into various sectors, including private healthcare and retail.
Private healthcare in South Africa is well above the affordable level for most people. In fact, 2 separate studies show that locals are paying 5 times more than patients in other emerging countries. The Competition Commission says numerous complaints from consumers and other industry players pushed it to probe the sector.
What are the reasons for the cost and price escalation in the private healthcare sector? And I think that the results of the inquiry will be a watershed in the just the regulation of the industry and how it moves forward.
The complaints into the retail and LPG sector arose out of a number of complaints that the Commission had received. These were complaints from stakeholders alleging a number of competition distortions. If you take, for example, in the retail sector, the complaints related to, one, the use of exclusive leases, the movement of large retailers into the township economy. And if you take, for example, the complaints into LPG, these related to the distortions that arose out of switching costs that had been created in the LPG markets.
We think that LPG gas is quite important as part of South Africa's energy mix. It's portable, it should be easily accessed by consumers, including those who might not necessarily be connected to the national grid.
The first inquiry was in the banking sector in August 2006, which examined certain aspects of competition and resulted in 28 recommendations.
South African consumers now pay far lower bank charges than before. South African consumers also pay far lower charges regarding the cancellation of debit orders. There has been a substantial increase as a result, to banking by South African consumers. Between 2008, for an example, 50% of South African consumers had access, to banking. But by December of 2013, 75% of South African consumers actually had access to banking. We think that that is a result of the fact that now banks are competing amongst themselves for the patronage of consumers using bank charges.
The success of the competition authorities has enhanced their domestic and international profile. South Africa continues to be involved in the BRICS Competition Forum, which recognizes the important role played by competition policy enforcement in the development of BRICS economies.
For the last number of years, we've been encouraging the competition authorities to meet on a regular basis and share their experiences. It's an opportunity to learn from each other, but it's also a key moment when we can reflect what kind of policy development and intellectual underpinning to it is required for our reality, the reality of a world that is not free of poverty and of inequality, and how by talking to each other we can share ideas on how to make this a better world for our citizens. Competition is very important in each of the BRICS economies, and in an era of globalization we need to learn from each other and perhaps at times work with each other to try to ensure that global institutions and the way in which the global economy works can support inclusive growth objectives, job creation, and national development goals.
BRICS members are uniquely placed where they tend to have fairly advanced markets, but also have huge social problems. So in our own country, unemployment is really a big problem, as well as inequality. So this platform enables us to go beyond the traditional bounds of competition law. And this conference that we are having in Durban will enable us to start exploring those possibilities.
The BRICS Competition Forum is a very important forum for Brazil. It's an opportunity that we have to exchange ideas with our colleagues concerning, in particular, the interface, the dialogue between public policies. For instance, the relationship between competition and poverty reduction, the interface between competition and development, competition and innovation, This is why we're very keen to participate in the BRICS Competition Forum, a chance to meet people face to face. For this reason, I would like to thank our South African colleagues in a very special way for organizing this event and congratulate them for this. And I'm looking very, very much forward to seeing you all in this occasion.
Добрый день, уважаемые коллеги. Прежде всего, я хотел бы сказать слова самой глубокой признательности и благодарности организаторам 4-й конференции антимонопольных органов БРИКС, поскольку то, что вот я вижу здесь, в вашей замечательной стороне, мне кажется, было действительно прекрасно, так же, как и сама организация, которая позволяет нам успешно работать. Я хотел бы сказать, что мы все больше и больше рассказов друг другу про нашу законотворческую практику и правоприменение переходим к решению важных для наших граждан практических вопросов. И те рабочие группы, которые мы намерены создать, возможно, в области лекарственного обеспечения, продовольствия и другие рабочие группы, мы сможем так организовать их работу, что это будет очень полезно для наших стран.
Greetings from India to all the participants and especially to the host of the 4th BRICS International Competition Conference. This conference, with focus on inclusive growth, promises to provide a forum for discussing the larger implication of competition law and policy and its enforcement. We look forward to a conference that furthers the relationship between BRIC competition authorities based on principle of mutual trust and respect. We wish the conference a grand success.
尊敬的各位同仁、朋友们，大家好！非常高兴来到美丽的彩虹之国南非，参加金砖国家第4届国际竞争大会。这次会议的主题是竞争与包容性增长。包容性的增长需要更好的、更多的发挥竞争政策的作用，为企业营造良好的公平竞争的市场环境。我相信这次会议的举办，为我们大家会提供一个良好的沟通交流的平台，促进彼此的了解与合作。预祝大会圆满成功，谢谢大家。
We looking forward to participation by all the BRICS member states, and we would like to take the opportunity to welcome them into our beautiful country.
My name is Billy Mabatamela, and let me take this opportunity to welcome you
to the 4th BRICS International Competition Conference.
The Competition Commission and the Competition Tribunal, regulating for a growing and inclusive economy.